Sometimes when you grow up and all you see is hardship, you unknowingly start to absorb that into your own mindset as you age. Some of the things that you learn growing up or witnessed can really negatively affect your future success. You have to also use the negative situations that happen in our life as opportunities to grow. When you're in a situation where you have no choice but to succeed, you find ways to be creative that people who are very comfortable can't tap into.
Welcome to today's episode of Sask Entrepreneurs Podcast. Folks, today is a very special day. We are going to learn about how to break through the noise by building a strong personal brand by none other than Kendal Netmaker. I've personally seen him grow and thrive for over 10 years. He is an award-winning entrepreneur, an author, a gifted keynote speaker who is on a mission to empower and motivate people worldwide by sharing his story that regardless of where you come from and what challenges you face, you have the power to enact change. Kendal, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Muneeb. It's an honor.
So Kendal, tell us a little bit about your backstory. How did you end up where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. So currently right now I'm a keynote speaker. That's my main focus in my business. I have products like Neechie Gear. I have Driven to Succeed, the book, and then audio programs, online courses. And I guess how we got here was my roots come from Sweetgrass First Nation. That's where my reserve is from, right by the Battlefords. And growing up through living there, I experienced a lot of the obstacles that a lot of my Indigenous brothers and sisters continue to face today. And there have been a lot of people that have been impactful in my life that I guess you could say saw something in me that I wasn't able to see at that time, potential, if you will. And there's a story of, my best friend from South Africa in grade 5, him and his family, they paid for my soccer fees so I can play after school soccer with him. And, throughout those journeys, there's been many people that have done that for me, not financially, but more so giving me time, giving me information, taking me under their wing to teach me about business and so on. And at the end of my education degree, where I thought I was going to become a phys ed teacher, that's what I thought was my path. And all of a sudden I gravitated toward business at the end of my last semester. I competed in business competitions, and that's how Neechie Gear was formed, the apparel brand that I have. And I matched the apparel brand with a social mission to help youth that grow up like me, the ones that couldn't afford to take part in sports, the ones that didn't have the financial means to play. And I wanted to create a brand that would help them in those paying of those fees and so on. And so that was my pitch back then, was to create a brand like that. And I didn't know what I was doing. So I would go and sit in workshops. There was no webinars back then, at least not many. And so I'd sit there with a notepad and pen, take notes, talk to mentors, and I became a sponge, and I would learn from everyone that I could. And I was able to write a business plan, compete in business competitions. I used the seed money from those competitions to grow Neechie Gear. And then it compounded throughout the time of reinvesting into the brand. And then, those habits over time produce something in the long term. And I really felt that it opened up the doors in time for me to become a speaker, to become an author, and to be here with you today.
That's wonderful. And obviously, over the years, you faced many challenges and struggles, and coming out of the background that you've been able to pull yourself out of.
Yeah.
What were maybe some of the biggest challenges over the course of the journey?
I would say there's the first one is yourself, your own mind, and how you see yourself, how you see the world. And sometimes when you grow up and all you see is hardship, poverty, lack of abundance, struggle, you unknowingly start to absorb that into your own mindset as you age. And so if you're growing up with that as a kid, and now you're a teenager, now you become an adult and so on, some of the things that you learn growing up or witnessed can really negatively affect your future success. So sometimes you have to go back and you have to work through stuff. You have to get counseling, you have to get therapy and so on. You have to get coaching, advanced mentoring and so on. And I'm very grateful that I've taken the initiative to go and work on that in my life, and to go and look back and see what are the root causes of me stopping myself from getting to where I want to get to in the future. And when I work with clients, I try to tell them the same thing. We're shaped by how we were raised. We're shaped by the environments. We're shaped right now in this moment by the people we surround ourselves, the conversations we have, even the type of music we listen to. And sometimes they get stuck, they get in a rut, and they wonder what got them there. You have to look at the root causes. You have to find what were the programs in your mind that created the habits that gave you the result that you're living. And sometimes that's hard for people because they don't want to go back and address certain things. They don't want to go back and address traumas. They don't want to work through that stuff. And that's some of the stuff that we have to do as human beings. Is if we didn't like the way things were back then, that doesn't mean that our future can't be positive. That doesn't mean that our kids can't live the life that we wish we had growing up. And so that was a realization I had to go through. And the second part of the obstacles came from external environments. What I mean by that is, when you're Indigenous, when you're a minority in our country, there is way more obstacles you have to go through than non-Indigenous people, than non-minorities, and so on. So what does that mean? That means that you have to take those challenges as a form of, it's a greater responsibility now for you to become successful, because there's people who are looking to you. You become a role model to a lot of people, in a sense. And when Neechie Gear was happening, I didn't know that was happening. I didn't realize that people were looking to me as a role model. And so that meant I had to watch how I carried myself. I couldn't be out and about, drinking in the bars, and so I couldn't be out and about living a negative lifestyle, because there was literally young people looking at me as a role model at that time. And so it became a responsibility that I had no choice but to grasp and to claim, in a sense. And so I took it with great responsibility. I still do to this day. And then you have to also use the negative situations that happen in our life as opportunities to grow, as opportunities to get better. And that came in the form of racism. That came in the form of lateral violence. And there's so many different things that I could share with you, but I would take up all of this podcast talking about it. But there's things that the world doesn't see. And when you're going through those things, it can be very difficult to say, what am I meant to learn from this right now? What is the teaching here? It's very difficult when life is very tough, when all you're trying to do is survive. And so I encourage whoever's watching and listening to this is to continue to work on your mindset, to continue to work on who you listen to, who you surround yourself with, because that is going to dictate your future success, whether you like it or not. If you're around negative people, you're going to start talking more negative unknowingly. So it's a choice we have to make at the end of the day. We have a choice. We can stay the same or we can get better.
And we are the sum of the 5 people that we hang out with the most. So it's really important to keep that inner circle very, very close to you, and really monitor that, because negativity can really feed on your mind, and it can really make you go astray. So you really have to control that. And you mentioned a very important part, which was, the cultural norm. Often we're fixated by that. We're in a position where it's the surroundings that lock us into this prison that we're unable to get out of. Mm-hmm. And I realized that you had a lot of hardships, trying to get yourself out of that. But I want to tap into this a little bit deeper to know, what kind of mindset do you need to make that transformation and really get out of that? Is it desperation? Is it, is it survival? Is it, no plan B? This is the only way forward. Yeah. What is that mindset that helps you get out of that?
I can only explain this from my experience in this question. For me, back in, I would say 2010, 2011, I had no choice but to find a way to succeed. And when your life is put in a situation where it's literally life or death for some people, like literally you're trying to survive, you're trying to find ways to feed yourself, your family, pay your rent, pay your groceries, and so on. For that, when you're in those environments where your back's against the wall, you have nowhere to go. In my experience, in what I've been taught from other mentors, other people who have achieved great things, they have been in those situations many times. And when you're in a situation where you have no choice but to succeed, you find ways to be creative that people who are very comfortable can't tap into. They don't have that. They're not pushed to that breaking point where they're able to look within themselves and find things that they didn't know they were blessed with. For example, it could be someone who was great at mathematics, someone who's great at public speaking, someone who's great at managing a business. These tools, these reservoirs of talent, everyone has them. It's just so few of us are willing to make ourselves uncomfortable to find those tools. And I always tell people that if your life was challenging growing up and you went through a lot of stuff growing up, your life was harder than your peers and you can't relate to people in that sense, then you're probably blessed with a lot of tools that you don't know that you have yet. Those tools are within yourself and they've been chosen for you so that when you decide to go and do something in the world, whatever that is, if it's working for someone, start a business, start a brand, you're able to have tools to allow you to be successful out there. Some people are chosen for that type of path. Some people are chosen for a more difficult upbringing because they're meant to be great leaders in the future, great business people, whatever that is for them. They'll find that. Now, the hard part, Munib, is doing the best you can to keep your mind as pure as possible, I'll say. In our culture, that is a necessity when anyone's taking a cultural route. You have to try your best to keep your mind as pure as possible. So what does that mean? You have to try to abstain from as much negativity as you possibly can. That comes in the form of people, but also in substances of drugs, alcohol, and so on. You have to try to live a good life, as they would say. That's difficult for a lot of people, especially we're living through an era where drugs are more abundant. They're becoming more accepted in the worldview for some reason. And in our culture, anything that alters your state of mind in those forms can be very dangerous to a human being, because it's you're taking away your true self in the moment. And your true self is what's going to allow you to have those epiphanies, to have that creative energy, to create great things in your life and so on. And if you're masking that by numbing yourself, so to speak, that could be, it's not a good thing, as what I was told growing up. And so that comes from my teachers, the knowledge keepers, that the elders who talked to me growing up. And I try to share that with people who are struggling with that.
I always say you are definitely an anomaly and an inspiration to so many, because it is very difficult to really break out of that pattern and be where you are at today and really helping, inspire others around the world. So you've been very successful in developing your personal brand. And a lot of our listeners, they want to know about how they can actually distinguish themselves in the marketplace by developing their personal brand and telling their story. So do you have some tips and advice on how they can actually do that?
Sure. I think you said it right there, is developing your story. That's what people are going to know you by. When you leave a room, you want people to have something that they can remember you by. And one of the greatest ways to do that is one, develop your story and find a way to communicate that to people. So your story is a gift for you. It's your life lessons. It's things you've gone through that you can use them as teaching points to the marketplace that you're serving. And if you combine your story with actionable takeaways that can really help people. And here's the part where a lot of people get stumped, we'll say. They don't feel their story is powerful enough to help people. That is one of the most common feelings that everyone gets, myself included. I went through the same thing. I was like, who wants to hear about what I have to say? Who's going to want to know about my struggles? No one cares, I used to think. But there's a lot of people that are waiting to hear what you have to say, that you may be able to help them with through your journey, your struggles, your obstacles. I don't know about you, Muni, but I've learned the best from mentors from what didn't work for them. Not so much their wins. I learned from what didn't work for them. And I try to okay, I need to avoid these situations that they went through. So I have to try to avoid their failures and so on. That's been my best way. I learn from other people. And so if you can combine your story and you write it down Eventually make a video if you can of it. Put it on your personal brand site, whatever your first name, last name.com, if you can get that on as a domain. You build a website as your personal brand. You put your message out there, who you are, why you do, what you're trying to do. Let people know about what you're trying to do. List all the things you've accomplished. List everything on your resume, on your site. List about what people have to say about you, about reviews, about people that have worked with you, hired you in the past. Put them on your website. And then always have a call to action on everything that you do. If you don't have a call to action, the market doesn't know what to do with you. They may be like, wow, that's really cool. But if you don't have a call to action on, for example, for me, it's book Kendal to speak. That's like always my call to action. As I'm a speaker, I want people to book Kendal. What do you want people to do once they come across you? Do you want them to hire you? Do you want them to book a call with you? Okay, well, make that your call to action on your website. The second part I would say to focus on, Munib, is know where your market is. This is one of the most cliched ways of saying this, but you have to know where your market is online. So for me, my market primarily, Munib, is on LinkedIn. So I put a lot of my effort more so on LinkedIn than anywhere else. I don't have time to be on Snapchat, TikTok, doing funny dances and all that type of stuff. That's just not my thing. My market is on LinkedIn, so I want to put my effort there. So you have to know where people are going to hire you are online and where they network. I guarantee you most of the people that you're trying to attract are probably on LinkedIn. But so few people that I know are making time for LinkedIn. They'd rather go where the entertainment is, not where the business is. So this comes with awareness of who you are, who you're trying to attract, and so on. If I could sum this up, I got to where I am right now because I had a founder's story that had a why that entailed a lot of people's emotions throughout my journey. When I tell the story, people can feel that story. And the only way I was able to do that was to get up on stages and make myself uncomfortable standing there and sharing a vulnerable story. That was hard. I tell people all the time, my first time speaking on a stage, I fell down the stairs, going up to the podium, and everyone's laughing at me. And I used to have notes on a piece of paper, and I remember shaking that into the podium mic, and all you can hear was this paper rippling all across the gymnasium. Like, it was really embarrassing. And I was like, man, never again, never again. But I ended up going back to a different one, and I got better over time, and I learned things about myself. But that's how life is. You have to work through the things that you're scared of doing. That's how you get your confidence. That's how you discover those gifts that you didn't know you had. If I didn't do that, I don't know if I would have became a speaker in the first place. Probably wouldn't be on this podcast with you, Munib. But it came because willingness to throw myself out there. I had an environment around me of my wife, my children who support me. And that's all that matters to me. My family, the ones who we call that like our home fire in our culture, like our place where we live, where we have a beautiful support system. You do your best you can to build that over time. If your home fire isn't secure, if it's not stable, your clients will suffer, your business will suffer, everything else will suffer. So do your best to make your home life as stable and as healthy as possible. Because if you don't do that, everything else will suffer. Your business won't work. Trust me. You may get successful for a short period of time, but it's not going to be sustainable. You're going to need someone to talk to, whether it be your spouse, your loved ones, when times get tough, when you need an extra opinion and so on. Because it's a lonely journey when you're an entrepreneur, when you're a business owner. It's a lonely journey. And last tip is try to find a mastermind if you can. Try to find coaches that can work with you to work on your mindset, to work on you just talking about your ideas. Sometimes you just need to talk it out and you hear something that you never expected to come out, and that might be the golden nugget you're waiting for. So all those things have been very helpful for me, and I hope they'll help all of you as well.
Well, certainly, I think mastermind goes back into our point about, keeping that inner circle of friends or people that you connect with. You're the summary of those 5 people that you speak with the most. So it's very important to be part of groups that are high achievers that you look up to and that you can actually learn from over time.
Absolutely.
That's a pathway to progress for sure. Now, when it comes to a key part that most entrepreneurs face. And I love the point about the home fire that you made.
Yeah.
It's a struggle for many entrepreneurs because sometimes there is no work-life balance, and
Yes.
you're managing your business, your home life, and your personal life is suffering. And it seems your business, which was supposed to be liberating you, has now become a parasite.
Yes.
It seems like a vicious circle of activities that are just draining you all the time. So do you have any advice for those entrepreneurs that are in this cycle of entrepreneurship and facing
Yes,
that crunch? Yeah.
absolutely. So I think you and me both, Munib, you've been in business much longer than me. But I think we can agree that we've had times where we didn't like what we were doing some days. We
That's right.
questioned everything we were doing. We had struggles, man. I just want to sell this thing. I'm going to get out of this thing. I want to get out of my lease, whatever that might be. I'm pretty sure most entrepreneurs go through that. And here's my advice is that sometimes whatever business that you're in right now, whatever you decided to commit to, do it the best way that you can with all that you have, all of your energy. Don't launch a bunch of things at the same time, because you're going to now split your energy up, and then you'll wonder why things didn't work out. Pick something, put all of your energy into it. I didn't learn this until later on when I started to get coaching, when I was in masterminds, when people were able to pick out my faults without me I wasn't able to see it because I was too far into it. Sometimes you need people like that can see something that's happening in your business, your life, that you can't see because you're too far into that path, and you can't see beyond. You can't take a step back and look and see what's happening right now. So that's the power of a community that can see you. That's the power of a mentor. So everyone goes through that. Everyone goes through those challenges of wanting to quit, wanting to give up, so to speak, on their business. My suggestion to you is that you are going to struggle with the work-life balance, because in the beginning, especially when you're a startup, all of your energy has to be put into that thing. You're going to be up late at night. You're going to be up in the morning. Sometimes you won't even sleep. And in the beginning, my wife witnessed that in my journey. She witnessed there's days where I'd have to be on the road for 2-3 days straight. Sometimes it's nonstop, going back and forth, going to different stores. People didn't show up. Okay, I have to fill in. I was living off of McDonald's coffee and their McDonald's breakfast. I wasn't living the healthiest. And when you live like that, at the same time, you start to feel out how much you can take, how much output you can do. So this also comes to the point of you have to know yourself, your limits, and so on. Sometimes you'll get pushed right to the limit, and then it's like the hamster in a wheel. You go as fast as you can, all of a sudden you start slowing down because you can't go any further. Sometimes you'll run into those situations where you're going as fast as you can, as hard as you can, and all of a sudden your body can't keep up now. You're exhausted. Sometimes you have to go through that to know your limits, to know what you can expect. And then you grow from that. You know what you can handle. I could tell you, if I were to look back 10 years to today, I had multiple stores at that time. I was doing everything. I was the distributor. I was the receiver. I was the shipper. I was partially the designer. I was the one picking up the clothing from our printers, taking them in my back of my little minivan with no seats in the back. And I was the shipper. I was going back and forth to our stores. I was the manager. I was the one doing bank deposits. I was doing everything. You are going to run into those situations as well, where I recommend understand everything, but don't be a master at everything, because now you're limited, big time limited. You're going to have to learn to delegate. You're going to have to learn how to hand off things to certain people, whether it's internally or as a contractor to a different business and so on. I've learned that it's easier for me as an entrepreneur. I'm not speaking for everyone. It's easier for me to work with other business owners. So I prefer to work with, for example, I work with Munib to build my website strategy and so on. If I would have said, Munib, I want to do that myself, it'd take me forever. I wouldn't be able to do what you guys have done. You guys are masters at that. It's the same thing. Like when you're getting video work done, I have people that if I need something done professionally, world-class, I'll go and hire people within the province that are world-class at what they do, and I'll work with them, work with their team. So there's going to come a time when you're going to have to delegate. And when that time comes, you will see your time come back to you. So you can spend it more time with your family, with your loved ones, with your hobbies and so on. And at the same time, do the best you can to look after yourself, because that's the most important thing. You're going to have to take care of yourself, drink a lot of water. You're going to have to try your best to eat the best foods, especially if you're on the road nonstop, you're flying all over the place. It's nonstop, because we can only go as far as our body's able to allow us to. And if you don't take care of it, you're going to be very limited. Trust me. So take care of yourself, take care of your family, and delegate as time progresses.
That's true. How is the website working out for you?
Oh, it's great. For those of you, check it out, kendalnetmaker.com. Munib and his team did it. They worked through it through the Christmas holidays. I kept them up late. Oh my gosh, I feel bad, Munib, taking you from your family and working on the website. And we launched it early this 2023. And it's been doing great. We got a lot of leads already for conferences, for engagements throughout North America. So we have conferences all over North America trying to book us to go and do speaking engagements. And we have online courses on there now. We have workshops that people can pick, a virtual series, Indigenous consulting programs. We just launched our own podcast as well. So lots on the go, and like I said, that comes from trying to work with the best of the best, and Munib and his team at TUAB are definitely the best of the best.
Well, I appreciate that, Kendal. And I think, one of the things that I just want to mention when it comes to website presence, it's extremely important for any business.
Yeah.
You have this opportunity to create a very strong first impression and engage with your audience, engage with your customer, and ultimately, create this relationship with them with your content. Many businesses, they just don't do that as effectively, and unfortunately, they miss out on those opportunities.
Yes.
So it's great to see that the website is working well for you, and you are getting some leads through that, because that's one of the main objectives that you should have through a website is how does it impact your bottom line?
Yeah.
And for certain businesses, it would be the sales, others, it would be the leads. And for some, it would be just brand awareness, but it's really important to understand what metric it is that you are looking to achieve, what goals you're trying to achieve, and work out a plan to be able to achieve those goals.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
With regards to your experience and the challenges that you've overcome, if there was one big takeaway that you could give to our listeners, what would that be?
Learn how to sell. Learn how to sell something. And that's difficult, because we all have a fear of the word no. And I think that comes from growing up. Sometimes maybe you heard no from a parent, or from a loved one, from a teacher, from a mentor, whatever that might be. Maybe you were rejected from something, or you didn't get into something. Like those no's compound over time. In sales, that is the only way to grow a business, is you have to learn how to pitch yourself, pitch your idea, and that comes down to belief in what you're selling. If you're scared to sell something, your belief isn't high enough for you to believe in what you're selling yet. So you have to work on whatever it is that you're working on right now, whether it's if you're selling websites, if I'm selling online courses, a book, and so on. My belief in what I do should be through the roof. Because if my belief is through the roof in what I can do for other people, when I go and communicate communicate that to someone else, they are going to feel that enthusiasm. They're going to feel that belief, that energy. And when they feel that, they're going to be more at a higher rate of closing that person, because they're going to feel what you feel. I don't know about you, but when I heard people talking about something that just came out, whether it's a movie and so on, and they're excited about it, I want to go experience that now. I want to have that same experience. So if you can do that in your business and share those experiences with other people that come to you, or a prospect and so on, and you can feel that same enthusiasm, just like your friends would tell you when something new just came out, or a new concert, and you have to go and experience that. That is what sales is about. You're creating influence in other people. They're feeling that. And last but not least, Munib, how I always tell people, my clients, how we grew really quickly, whether it was Neechie Gear, book sales, even throughout the pandemic when all the in-person events were shut down and we had to do stuff virtually. I focused on selling one to many, more than one thing at one time. So focusing on selling 50 to 100 books at a time, focused on selling 50 plus hoodies at a time, focused on selling 6 plus webinars at one time. Those type of sales are just as easy as the one-to-one sales.
That's right.
So ask yourself, how can I sell one-to-many? If you can do that, your business will grow more than 10 times, much quickly. Trust me about that. It happened to my business. It happened to a lot of my clients, but it's a mindset shift you have to think about. Is when you hear that, you're like, man, I never thought of it that way. So if you're listening to this, go back in your office, go back tonight, in the morning, wherever you're listening to, whatever time it is, and ask yourself, how can I sell one-to-many with what I have to offer? And package it in a way that it's irresistible, that people can't say no to it. And detail your enthusiasm through your voice, through your pitch, through a video, through on the person, a webinar, whatever that might be, or whatever your selling strategy is. And they have the utmost belief for what you have to offer for them, their clients, and so on. It's belief in yourself.
Absolutely. Kendal, it's been such a pleasure to have this conversation here with you. And I'm sure that the listeners will learn so much from the nuggets of gold that you've actually shared. Where can people learn about yourself, find out more about yourself, and contact you?
Sure. Go to kendalnetmaker.com. All my stuff's on there. My email, all the stuff to get a hold of me, kendalnetmaker.com. If you want to watch my podcast, we're just getting started with that right now. If you want to learn more about speaking engagements, books, all the stuff's on the website.
That's great. We'll definitely include a link to your website, as well as some highlights with linking to your social profiles as well. And thank you very much again for taking the time today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Manip.
Thanks for listening to Sask Entrepreneurs. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a spark of inspiration. To catch more stories and lessons learned from Saskatchewan's business leaders, visit SaskEntrepreneurs.com. Until next time, keep building, keep growing, and keep Saskatchewan strong. Ciao.